Hello and welcome back to another in-depth weather video. Today we are going to be talking about the atmospheric river and the soaking rain that will be impacting the Pacific Northwest. So let's get right on into it, but first, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell. So I'm on the National Weather Service page, and you can see that we have many flood watches on the west coast, stretching the entire coastline of Oregon and Washington. We also have some winter storm warnings in the upper elevations because this storm will bring some significant snowfall as well. Then we have plenty of high wind watches, and that kind of gets into what this storm will do after it moves onto the shoreline, because this could be our next winter storm. I don't know if it will be named, but it could have some pretty serious impacts for most of the country. I think the most serious impact after the atmospheric river phase would be temperatures, because after this moves through and that low pressure will be in Canada, dumping that polar vortex air into the US, and it's going to be frigid. So let's move on here to the models. Let's start with the NAM model. Alright, we are zoomed in on the Pacific Northwest right now. Don't worry, we will be zooming back out to the entire continental US when we get to the global models. So, right now we have plenty of rain stretching from southern Oregon up into Canada. We also have some snowfall here in northern Washington. Now, as we start to move along here, you can see that more heavy rain pushes into Washington. I think Washington will be at the brunt of all of this. And you can see that the rain just doesn't stop. Even though it looks like it's going to, doesn't stop. There's another round. And then, you know what? This is Wednesday, and it finally calms down. Then, you can see that it already starts moving into the Rockies, bringing in some snow. Looks like some heavier snow there. But then you have the colder temperatures. Now, you can see that as we move on, things clear out until the next system. This is on Friday. But I think that system will be a little bit less impactful. Now, total accumulated precipitation here, that is a lot of color. Alright, so, basically what this means is that if you live on the coast of Washington, Oregon, and even very northern parts of California, expect at least 3 inches of rainfall. Even into areas such as the Seattle-Tacoma area could see 2 to 4 inches of rain, and even more so when you get into the mountains. You have the rain shadow effect, where as rain pushes onto the mountains, you get more rain on one side than the other, and that really shows here. You can see a drastic cutoff line right where the mountains are at their peaks. I'm not going to go super into the rain shadow effect, just know that this is why we have this kind of surge in rain amounts here right before the mountains. Now, once this moves into the Rockies, you can still see some significant amounts of total precip, but this will mostly be snow. So let's move over there to the total accumulated snowfall, and you can see here areas in Washington could see up to 30 to 35 inches of snowfall on top of the, I think currently 50 inches of snowfall that you guys have had this month. Definitely a very rough time in northern Washington, but other areas could see some significant snowfall too. Parts of Idaho, parts of western Montana, parts of Wyoming, Colorado. Overall, the upper elevations will be getting a pretty decent amount of snow. Now, what does this storm have to do with the rest of the country? Now, let's go into our global models. So, we have the storm system moving onshore, then we have this low pressure right here. This low pressure generates right into Alberta, and starts to move to the north. Now, of course, that low pressure will draw in some colder air behind it, and you can see that we have this blue line here. This is the 540 line. This is basically the 32-degree line. And you can see that this thing's pretty powerful, and has some pretty cold air wrapping around it. 979 millibars, probably some pretty decent winds on the back end here. Now, that is in Saskatchewan, but we could see those high winds push into the U.S. You can see from Montana through the northern plains, maybe even some snow in some spots, and then that moves into the northeast. I think that the major population centers will be seeing mostly rain here, but there is a chance that this, of course, does form into some sort of nor'easter, but I'm still sticking with mostly rain. And then that could produce some more cold air, and then set up for maybe a little bit of a clipper system here in the northeast, and then possibly that forms into a nor'easter. So this atmospheric river, even though it only seems to be affecting the Pacific Northwest at this point in time, kind of shows the bigger picture right now. We're going to be getting a lot more cold air in the northern part of the country, and if there's moisture there, we will be seeing more snowfall. Now, the European model, let's actually go over there real quick. So, the European model shows this low pressure moving onto the coast of Victoria Island into Alberta. You can see this one's a little bit on the weaker side in terms of precipitation, but still drawing in some pretty cold air, still drawing some pretty strong winds. That moves into the country. You can see this one is much weaker, but you still have some snow, light snow. But really the main thing behind this is going to be this. These isobars are pretty close, which means that you could see some higher winds, and that could pull in some colder air. Now, the European model shows a much wider spread of precipitation with this storm system, which could mean that we could see some blizzard warnings in some spots. And then, of course, that moves into the northeast, and again, pretty much all rain there. Now, that sets up a possible southern snowstorm right there, but that looks to be not forming as of now. Then we have this low pressure here. I think that could be one of the storms that we have that kind of dips low into the Rockies and kind of rides this way, bringing this area a decent amount of snowfall. But this is very far out. This is the 21st. So, overall, atmospheric river, even though it seems like it's the Pacific Northwest problem, it'll affect all of us at some point in time with the general pattern, the cold, the wind, the precipitation, all of the above. So that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.